Hey guys, it's Cypher here, and today we're going to look at Mythrax the Unraveler. This looks like it will be the 7th encounter in the raid, so you could expect it to be a lot more challenging than anything we've seen so far. From our raid testing, we didn't see Phase 2, although as far as I can tell, you alternate between two phases with some overlapping abilities. Phase 1 starts by jumping down into a big hole. Fall damage is reduced here, but healers still need to make sure that they top people off. There are a lot of things to deal with in this fight, first of which is Annihilation. You gain this by being hit by certain abilities throughout the fight. These reduce your health by 1% per stack and can stack up quite high. To remove these stacks you need to run into the little blue orbs on the ground, and I believe that these spawn as people get stacks. Tanks have to deal with Essence Shear in both phases. Here you need to make sure you face the boss or add away from the raid. It does a cone and applies 16 stacks. It doesn't apply too often, so you should be able to swap on one. Then when you're not tanking, you should be going out and collecting orbs to reduce your stacks as much as possible. On a timer, he will cast Obliteration Wave. This will damage and apply 8 stacks to anybody hit by it. To reduce the number of people getting hit by this, I would suggest positioning yourselves as a raid in a half circle with the melee over to the side. The next thing you have to deal with is Oblivion Sphere. This is thrown out onto 2 players and will charm anyone stood within 5 yards of this player. To uncharm them, you can either kill the orb, or use a knockback or grips to get the players out. There is something that I noticed that I've not seen many groups actually take advantage of, and it seems that one of these spheres always goes out onto a melee, and this is quite important for the next ability. Imminent Ruin will go out onto 2 random players, it will gradually slow you, and then you will explode, dealing AoE damage with a drop-off effect to anyone within 45 yards. The important thing here is that you give 4 stacks to anyone within 12 yards of the explosion. Now, if you are charmed, you become friendly with Mythrax, and when you're stood within 12 yards of him, he also gains these stacks. This is something I picked up on right at the end of raid testing, so the footage that I have is kind of limited, but here you can see I get the ruin and then get charmed, and it's hard to see because both tanks are dead and people are dying everywhere, but if you look at this mage right here, he doesn't gain any stacks despite being right next to me as I explode, although he does seem to take damage. So knowing that a melee can get a sphere, and that we can give the boss stacks, we can use this by having all of the melee stand up so the sphere is always going to be in the same place, and then have the ruins run over to where the melee is stood, and then they should get charmed before they explode. It seems that the sphere did come a few seconds after ruins, so you do have time to get in position, because if you're not initially charmed by the sphere, then you're not actually going to get charmed, even if you run into it afterwards. Now, I need to do a lot more testing to verify that this is a strategy that's viable. Whether you can do both ruins at once, or if you can just do one ruin at a time. Maybe it gets fixed, who knows, but we can reduce his health by 4% per ruin by doing this, and he has a lot of health, or at least he did on raid testing. If this isn't the intended strategy, then these ruins just need to get taken to the back of the room to avoid giving anyone any stacks and reducing the amount of damage going out onto the raid. I have no footage of phase 2, but I was watching live streams of other guilds that did actually get to this phase, and I'm not really sure how he transitions, whether it's percentage based or time based right now, although I do know that Mythrax goes to the middle of the room, then he will cast Oblivion's Veil. Basically, he has a zone around him that damages you and knocks you back, but he also takes 99% less damage, so there's no reason to go in there at all. When he reaches 0 energy, he will become active again, and I believe he should cast Zalziax's Awakening. Oblivion Beam has the wrong description in the journal, as this should cast out a beam where he is facing, similar to how Kingaroth does, except it doesn't spin around. When the phase starts, you will get 2 Naraki Destroyers. These have the same tank ability as before, so you need to make sure you face them away from the raid. They also take 80% less damage when they are nearby each other, so tanks need to move them away, although it doesn't actually mention how far you need to move them, and it could be that you just need to nuke one of them down to make the other one easier to kill. The boss will occasionally also summon visions. These are smaller rads, and they just cast a mind flare and need interrupting and killing off. Shouldn't be too difficult to deal with these. Now, there is still a lot of work to go into this fight, especially with tuning, but it seems really interesting. If this charmed rune strategy goes the way that I think it does, I think that's awesome. I think that's a really cool mechanic. But that's something we'll have to see next time raid testing comes around. By the time the raid actually comes out, hopefully I'll have a full guide, and I hope this preview has given you a little bit of an idea of what this boss is like. It was massively overtuned and bugged at one point. As you can see here, everyone just getting one shot by the ruins because Blizzard were playing around with it as we were raid testing. Anyway, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching and good luck with raiding in BFA.